Hello everyone, welcome to Crypto Morning for Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Yesterday was crucial with the US CPI index. There's good and bad news which we'll review shortly. Additionally, in the stock market, Nvidia showed an impressive performance. We'll examine the sequence as it was particularly interesting for NASDAQ. The market initially dipped, then bargain hunters stepped in, quickly reversing NASDAQ's decline. These are positive market signals and it closed on a strong note. Unlike Bitcoin and altcoins, which ended sluggishly, Bitcoin followed a similar pattern. We'll explore two reasons for this gap between traditional and crypto markets. So, Nvidia, as you know, has become the barometer of financial markets. The entire world is now watching Nvidia's performance, and when it's worth nearly $3 trillion, a 10% move either way means a $300 billion increase or decrease in market cap. These are massive shifts, and now it's positive, up 8%. I think this will have good ripple effects on the markets. Then yesterday's big event was the US CPI index. Good news, consumer prices rose only 2.5% in August, below the 2.6% forecast. Beating expectations is key, and we're seeing a downward trend. US inflation was 2.9% in July, now it's down to 2.5%. Next, we'll look at the finer details, specifically the core index, which excludes food and energy. Unfortunately, it rose 0.3% over a month, higher than the expected 0.2%. So it's worse than consensus, which is why I mentioned good and bad news. In the end, Nvidia's impact is so significant that it pushed the S&P 500 up 1.07% and NASDAQ up 2.17%. Sometimes I say NASDAQ exploded for a 3% gain, and people seem underwhelmed. We need to remember that crypto and stock markets behave very differently. It's extremely rare for NASDAQ to gain 5% or 6% in a day. That's truly exceptional. It's quite impressive, actually. The success of USDT's TTR is one of the biggest in recent years. It's a money-making machine. I believe they reported 10 billion in profits for the first quarter, or maybe 5 billion. Either way, it's an enormous amount. We all hope Bitcoin will become a payment system one day, but that's not the case yet. However, the big surprise is the stablecoin. The stablecoin has become a widely used payment system, which is unexpected. It's interesting to see how stablecoins have gained traction in the market. USDT is becoming that, by the way. It's not just Summers and other stablecoins. Imagine it becoming reality. It's already the case in some countries worldwide. In Dubai, for instance, you can easily exchange USDT for thousands of dollars and even buy real estate with USDT. There are many possibilities there. Singapore is very similar. Consider this. Their annual USDT transaction volume reached 1 billion. It's becoming significant and essentially a payment system in the world today. It's interesting to note this development. This might explain why crypto markets fell relative to stocks, which should have soared like NASDAQ. US polls show Kamala Harris overtaking Trump, though I'm following this from afar. You know Trump's been gushing about Bitcoin lately. I strongly believe if Trump wins the US election, it'd be the icing on the cake. If it's Harris, we'll still see a bull market. But with Trump, it'll be wild. He might add tens of thousands to Bitcoin's peak. I've said for a while I see Bitcoin hitting 150-200K in 2025. With Trump, it might go even higher, maybe 200 and 250K. Recently, polls favor Harris, who's been performing better. I glanced at the USMA exchange. It's less crypto-friendly now. Still, it's just part of a wave. Not very pleasant, where we had to admit that Bitcoin ETFs, in my understanding, are for retirement planning. I've dealt with BlackRock, and when they invest, it's usually for 5, 10, 20, or even 30 years down the line. We learned the hard way that this wasn't the case. They were selling. And what's also important to know is many ETFs bought heavily in January when prices were around 30,000. They've doubled since, and with geopolitical risks and potential recession threats, fund managers automatically sell Bitcoin thinking it's still up over 100% right now. I believe it's a temporary wave of outflows that's impacting Bitcoin, perhaps due to recent statistics. Bitcoin was taking off, but fund managers took advantage to sell. The classic sell the news. Currently, the NFT sector is really struggling. OpenSea faced a hack, but on the flip side, there's some good news that might give hope to NFT fans. A CryptoPunk just sold for a whopping $1.5 million. Honestly, that's an astounding amount, considering the NFT market crash since 2021. So a glimmer of hope for NFTs. Frank Tykes, it's crucial to discuss this on this channel. I mentioned this to you, I think, only to tell you about a pseudo-trend that emerged at one point. We discussed SocialFi, and I always said it smelled very, very bad, to put it mildly. Now, Frank Tykes confirms there are serious scam suspicions. The founders seem to have run off with the money. I'm not surprised, as it really smelled fishy. This type of project, we talked about it then, and thankfully, it's the kind of thing you shouldn't waste time on. Just say next. As for Asia Alliance, let's check the token. It's doing well, actually. If I look at the past month, it's up 60%. Though this might be good news, it's getting complex. Asia Alliance, the alliance of Ocean, SingularityNet, and Fetch. And now they're adding a fourth partner. They'll merge with a fourth. There's a project called Q. I'm not familiar with it, but I think it's decentralized cloud computing. It'll likely complement their offering. There are no longer 3 in the Asian alliance, but 4 now. Will this add value to the token? I think so. It was already 3 merged organizations, now 4. We'll keep an eye on it, but it's generally good news. Looking at the map monthly, it's mixed. I switched to see who's staying afloat. Daily view isn't pretty. Bit disappointing for Bitcoin, though volumes are nice, and Ethereum is doing rather well too. Average and Ethereum still very low with 2003, and Bitcoin flexing a bit. We see in the day minus 0.49%, and immediately the altcoins making less. Solana down 5%. For Bitcoin, we'll quickly go through the daily chart. We know this pattern well. We still have this range configuration. What's interesting to me is when we zoom in. Often they say zoom out, but I think we need to zoom in. In 4-hour view, we have our sequence of lower highs. And for me, the reversal happened on the 4-hour chart. Why? Because we've exploded past the old high that was getting lower and lower. We're well above it. It'd be great to definitively break 58,000, and the top is here at 59,000. There, we'd have a clean breakout, and most importantly, confirm the inverse head and shoulders pattern. Maybe today, maybe in less than a week, with the party continuing in the altcoins. Interesting, now it's getting huge. Look at this, it's something that graphic analysis schools should really study. This head and shoulders pattern is monstrous. It seems to be really taking off on BNB. We discussed this with a 4th person who joined the team and project. Now it's clearly forming a cup and handle. We need to break out now to confirm, but it looks like that's the case. It just needs a bit more momentum. Let's break out. We're reaching 150, that's great. We've broken through. To confirm, it seems to lack a bit of momentum. Let's push it, hit 1.50, and we've broken through the resistance. Next, some key tokens in this bull market for me, although they have rather sluggish configurations, and it's not easy to spot reversal patterns. Do you see any? Injective seems to have been climbing a bit for 3 days, but overall, stepping back, I find it still struggling. There aren't clear reversal signals yet. Similarly with Pendle, even though we see a low at 1.90 and a wick at 2.50, so we might have a reversal, but I don't see a clear reversal pattern on Pendle, even though I think it has good potential, like Injective in this bull market. Lastly, I started this morning with Nvidia in GPU cards. I wanted to finish with the equivalent in decentralized GPU cards, which is a total letdown. And we're talking about it less, Render. It's practically dropped to its prices from last year. It was one of the biggest hits last year, worth around $1. It went up 15x. Now it's losing big time. Sometimes it gets so extreme, down 75%. You might say there are many like this, but for a project of this quality, it's shocking. We'll end on Render. So have a great day. See you soon. Bye, everyone.